Captain's Log, May 8th, 2017. That's right, the weekend is over. It's back to the daily grind of whatever it is that you do. For me, it's, well, actually putting the videos together to some extent. No, I enjoy this. This is fun. I do. It's just work in advance for anything, no matter how fun is still work, right? And then I got to deal with these guys like all day. Come here. Look at you. One. That's Jack. He doesn't care. All right. Anyway, it's to talk about the top 5 best things to happen on TV in 2017 so far, non-animated, because I keep hearing people talk about stuff that I just haven't watched. I mean, I think the only animated thing I've watched this year has been Archer Dreamland, which I've been enjoying, but I wouldn't put on this top 5 list anyway. So let's go off. These are in no particular order. Keep in mind, this is based on the kind of stuff that Chris likes to watch. So those of you out there are like, what? This is the best season of Scandal ever. Sorry. And I'm sure there's a lot of people going to go, you really need to watch The Handmaid's Tale. And I do. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. Number 1. Well, you thought we'd all forgotten about this one. Sneaky Pete on Amazon Prime. Wow, that was a solid first season. Giovanni Ribisi, I had forgotten he was ever an actor at points. He felt like a guy who shows up in other people's movies for cameos. But yeah, he certainly does appear to know what he's doing with this one. Sneaky Pete is the story of a con man who gets out of jail and takes on the identity of his roommate in jail, who's played by Ethan Embry, so that he can have a place to hide out from gang guys who are looking for him, and with Bryan Cranston playing the leader of said gangsters, and then so he can possibly rip these people off for a bunch of money to pay back these gangsters so they won't kill his brother. Top notch, very entertaining, going to be back for another season because it was a minor hit. Part of the reason might be because of Amazon Prime that not as many people are watching this one, because just not as many people have a subscription to that, which is a shame because Amazon Prime has all those other great bonus features. If I had to choose just 2 streaming services, it would probably be Netflix and Amazon Prime, although I do indeed have more than that. But yeah, Sneaky Pete, check that shit out. Number 2. This should come as no surprise to anyone who likes geeky stuff and is watching television actively right now. That is the pilot for American Gods. Wow, what a knockout of the park that was. Brought to you by the great Brian Fuller, and hopefully not ended because of the great Brian Fuller, like every other show he does gets canceled before its time. This is extremely arty television. In fact, it's very reminiscent of one of the other things on our list this week, in that it's kind of abstract and requires some amount of work on the viewer to piece together what's going on at first. Based on the Neil Gaiman book, just terrific performances across the board. What great casting by Ricky White as Shadow Moon. Honestly, he was the best thing about the show The 100. Now that he's gone, I don't know how I feel about it. And of course, Ian McShane as Mr. Wednesday, although if you read the books, it's kind of like, or the book, it's kind of like, wow, are they going to find a way to keep him on the show longer? Please don't go away, Ian McShane. Really don't want you to go away anytime soon. The second episode I saw, really enjoyed watching Peter Stormare in it, but honestly, it was just a pretty slow episode by comparison to the first one. I'm sure things are going to pick up quite a bit regardless. I mean, they're still laying the groundwork for an enormous selection of characters, but who I never thought I'd say is the best thing about an episode of any TV show was Orlando Jones here playing Mr. Nancy in the beginning of this. Just terrific, nailing it in that part. But yeah, more than anything, I wanted to say that pilot of American Gods, so good. As much as everybody's talking about it, you'd think everyone had a subscription to Stars, which, come on, they don't. So where are you watching it? Moving on to number 3, the pleasant retro modern tertiary to superhero stylings of Noah Hawley, showrunner on the show Legion. Obviously, we've already talked about this at length in our review. This is TV at its absolute best. The full thing, completely worth watching, completely worth your time. If it lost you at first because it was a little abstract, it was a little hard to piece together what was going on, you need to go back and give it another chance. By the 4th episode, I mean, it's not like you're not enjoying the stuff before then, but by the 4th episode, everything it gives you the Rosetta Stone for everything that you've been seeing, and from then on, it just starts to make more and more and more sense. By the end, you understand everything that you've seen, And that's pretty amazing for a show that starts off as abstract as it does. Absolute masterpiece of television. Can't wait to see what season 2 is going to be all about. Okay, this next one's going to surprise some people, but that's because a lot of people gave up on this show way too soon, and they really shouldn't have. I'm talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has had the best season of any superhero show on TV this season, except for Legion, which is, once again, only a tertiary. It's just kind of a superhero show. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. flat out is one with lots of superhero characters in there. And one of the things I think that worked this season was the decision to break it up into shorter storylines along the length of the show. Whereas I realized the Netflix seasons only do that with sort of 2 storylines for unnecessarily long one season. This is breaking it up into 3. We've had Ghost Rider, which was great. We've had LMD, which was, Life Model Decoy storyline, which was great. And we have, right now, Agents of Hydra, which is the sort of our actual world now is the Matrix plot stylings. And it's, as good as those previous 2 were, Agents of Hydra is where it's at. It has been so good so far. This show has been so good so far. Honestly, I'm like, I know so many people who dropped out so early, and I'm like, man, the end of the first season when it got the Captain America stuff was great. And then that show just got better from there. It would go up and down a certain extent, but by season 3, it was just solid all the way through. And season 4 is the best yet. You really owe it to yourself to go back and give it Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. another chance. It's so good. Now, my last one also might surprise some people. I mean, come on, I tried to listen. The show is actually called Dear White People, and I went, yes? What is it? So I watched it, and it's on Netflix, partially because everybody was saying how great it was. Now, keep in mind, this is somebody who has never seen the movie. I don't know. I think I just didn't have it put in front of me. If I'd had a copy of it, I feel like I would have watched it because everybody was talking about it. But I never did. But watching the show was one of those, literally 30 seconds into the first episode, I was like, oh, this is good. I'm going to like this. And I just watched the whole thing through in 2 days. Really, really funny. Really, really smart. So many things to say while also having things to say about people who have things to say. You know what I mean? It's not as... It acknowledges that it's not that easy to just say, hey, this is wrong. There's always going to be a difficulty in trying to express that to people who don't want to hear it, or people who might have a valid point to adding another analysis of the situation based on their context of the situation. Both white people and other black people in this one. Such great performances throughout this thing. You genuinely laugh out loud. Funny. I believe that's Giancarlo Esposito doing the voiceover, the narrator in the beginning, basically being Ron Howard in Arrested Development. I hope that it ends up that he's actually playing a character on the show. I'm just saying. Anyway, that is my top 5 list for the week. So my life is, and just a little end thing about my own personal life. For those of you who give a shit, if you don't, you can cut it off right here. Got told by the doctor I have a fatty liver. I was like, fuck you. I may have said something about this already. I think I did. But now apparently I have to change my diet drastically, which includes considerably less alcohol. Considerably. And pretty much just not getting inebriated when I do drink it, which is a major lifestyle change for me, to say the least. But one I realized I was going to have to move towards quite some time ago. And then a drastic change in diet as well. Although some things weren't as drastic as I was worried they were going to be. It's like, no bread! Well, technically you can eat that bread everybody hates with all the grains and shit in it. It's like, ugh. And I have to move to almond butter and shit. Pretty much nothing with any corn syrup or anything. Whatever. No, nothing with any kind of sugar. Seriously, it's especially fruit. I'm like, what do you mean especially fruit? Apparently the liver is the only organ in the body that processes fructose specifically, so you have to get out anything that has large quantities of fructose. I don't know. I don't want to die, but I also am terrible at willpower and self-control. Terrible. So we'll see what happens. Keep your eye, maybe put me in your dead pools. I don't know. I will do the best that I absolutely am capable of doing, which means much better than I've ever done before. Anyway, thanks so much for being a subscriber, and I'll be back tomorrow with more ravings about something.